because some shark fishermen out here in Gulf Breeze contacted us, and they said they see lights in the water at night when they're out there at night shark fishing.
All right, basically what we do is we'll kayak all this bait out for shark fishing about 500-600 yards. And when you get out there, there's not the lights from the hotels or anything like that. It's a lot quieter. You can see things in the sky and the water that you wouldn't be able to see at all here. You can actually see straight down.
My name is Marcus May, and I see UFOs and USOs while I'm shark fishing.
In the water, you can see these kind of greenish orbs.
Do they ever move?
No, it's just there, and it's glowing.
So how would we get out there if we wanted to see these lights tonight?
We would go on a kayak.
Can you take Pat out?
Absolutely, yeah.
What are you talking about?
You should go out there, take a look for yourself, see the lights, see what's under the water.
You can catch some sharks while you're at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of sharks out there.
Right, well, we're catching them all, so you won't have to worry about it.
Are they big sharks? Is there anything that I would have to, be concerned about?
About 250 pounds is about the heaviest we've caught. Unless you fall in, I think you'll be safe.
Don't fall in.
Okay, great. Have there been shark attacks in the area?
Absolutely. There's a shark attack every year, it seems, down here.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind as we're paddling out there.
While I'm honored that Bill and Kevin have so much faith in my abilities to do this, they're not the ones going out there into these shark-infested waters. If I should tip over, it could be a pretty ugly scene.
Okay, let's go do this. Great.
You got it, man.
Remember, don't fall out.
He's already looking a little wobbly, if you ask me. He got slammed by a big old wave. But I don't hear any screaming.
Can you see anything in the water?
When I put my paddles in the water and stir the water, you do get some of the bioluminescence, but it takes a lot to create it.
Pat is able to cause the lights themselves just by violently pushing his oar through the water. This is bioluminescence. That's what he's seeing out there, a chemical reaction caused by an organism. And the result of this chemical reaction is an emission of light. This is a very good explanation to what all the fishermen are seeing themselves.
We've dropped the bait. There are, Marcus says there are sharks around us at this time. I'm seeing shadows under the boat, but I'm not getting a clear view of anything. We don't have any moonlight tonight, so the water's really, really dark. The shore seems really far away. If I got into trouble out here, it looks like it would be a long paddle back. This would be a bad spot to have trouble in.
How stable is it out there? Can you keep the thing steady?
The kayak is rocking a little bit, but it's not bad. Hang on, I think I just felt something bump my kayak. The kayak is rocking a little bit, but it's not bad. Hang on, I think I just felt something bump my kayak. Marcus did tell me that sharks have been known to bump boats, bump people out of kayaks.
This is a pretty dangerous situation. The shark bumps hard enough, he's going to fall in the water, and there are going to be sharks around.
Is whatever bumped your kayak still bumping the kayak?
I'm not hanging around long enough to find out. I'm just going to keep moving.
There he is! Hey, you did it!
Wait, Marcus, where's Pat? I don't see Pat.
Was Pat behind you?
Yeah. I don't see Pat.
Okay, Pat, Marcus is back. We're looking for you.
So we think we see Pat coming ashore in his kayak, but it turns out it's not Pat. It's Marcus. So I'm beginning to get a little worried. We don't know where he is, the currents are strong, and he's not talking to us on the walkie-talkies.
I see Pat on the left.
See Pat?
Nice, yeah, a little bit. I almost tipped over because the swell picked up out there, some high winds.
So you got bumped by a shark. Was that scary?
That was the scariest moment for me, knowing that we had just dropped the bait, lots of chum.
There are sharks everywhere.
It was intense, but while I was out there, by digging my paddle into the water, I managed to recreate the green glow caused by bioluminescence. So maybe the green glow that people are reporting is just bioluminescence.
It was so dark out there we couldn't see each other, really.
So when you moved your paddle under the boat, along the bottom, you saw bioluminescence.
Yeah, but he says it's totally different from what he's seeing.
From the orb, it would be more like this size,
Right.
and it looks like it's about 10 feet down.
Oh, really? You're seeing something really big?
Marcus says that bioluminescence is not what he saw. He saw green glowing spheres, or orbs, and bioluminescence does not explain what Captain Keith and other witnesses saw. Objects going in and out of the water and not making a splash.
Looking out across the sound, I saw a triangular shape with red lights. And then all of a sudden, it went into the water. I did not hear a splash or see a splash.
It went straight into the East Bay, and it did not make a splash.
One thing that really fascinates me is that some of these USOs go into the water and come out of the water without making a splash. And I'm really curious, is there any kind of technology, is there a shape or design of a craft that can actually do that?
I've also heard that we have supersonic craft that create a field around them so that there is less of a fluid drag around the craft. Maybe USOs use something like that.
What I would do is ask an aerospace engineer, is there an experiment you can build where you generate a kind of a wave around an object and then insert that into water and see what happens with the water? I would investigate that. We're here at Flowmetrics, and we're talking to Steve Harrington, who's an aerospace engineer. And we're trying to work up experiments that will show how to minimize the splash of a flying disc entering the water to mimic the effect of a USO.
USOs are entering the water without creating a splash. This is what witnesses are telling us. That's what Maximilian told us as well.
You put your hand in a glass, you pull it out, it's going to drip. USO don't drip because they don't touch the water.
And hopefully you can help us figure out how that's possible.
When things go in the water really fast, they tend to create a little column of air behind whatever goes in the water, and then when the water comes back in, that tends to jet out a splash. But if you put enough bubbles in the water, then you kind of change the density of the water in the neighborhood of the object, so the water is more compressible. Then when it comes back together, there won't be such a sharp peak of pressure that creates a splash. We created a set of air jets that might simulate some kind of force field or propulsion system that pushes the water out of the way as the USO enters the water. The other thing that we're going to try here today is a hydrophilic coating. It's a coating that attracts water. Things like wax are hydrophobic coatings, so right after you wash your car, all the water beads up on it. That's a hydrophobic coating.
The bottom line is that a hydrophilic coating will create less of a splash effect and more of a smooth effect around the object than a hydrophobic coating, which will reject the water and create a splash effect.
Right, exactly.
We're actually filming each of these USO dives on a 300 frame per second video camera. And we can do frame by frame analysis and see pretty precisely how high these splashes really are.
Well, let's launch it and see if we get any witnesses.
3, 2, 1. Okay, well, our first test here is going to be a control.
Aerospace engineer Steve Harrington has made a model of a USO, and we're experimenting with different ways to reduce the splash of the craft as it plunges into the water.
3, 2, 1.
Whoa, that was a lot bigger than I expected.
That was a splash.
That was a splash, all right. I'm very surprised that an object this small creates such a big splash. Every USO report that we've received describes a large object entering the water without a splash.
They appeared to be just beneath the water. They started vibrating, but the water wasn't moving.
We think we have an idea of how this is possible.
So here we have a hose with compressed air going into a tank that we saw before, and then we have all the little nozzles out front where the air is going to be jetting out. Okay, air pressure on.
Oh, that's a great sound.
3, 2, 1. Give it a yank.
That reduced the splash.
It did?
It did reduce the splash.
You say with water on your face.
Not exactly. Didn't seem much different from the first one, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
We need to focus in on the primary splash, and unfortunately this is happening so quickly that we really can't see it with the naked eye. Is there a change? I don't know yet. We're going to have to wait until we see video footage.
We've painted the USO with hydrophilic coating, and hopefully that'll create a smaller splash. 3, 2, 1.
I really saw a splash, an entry splash, but it was that secondary splash, the final one, that's making
That's the one
difference.
that makes us all wet, isn't
Yeah.
it?
They never touch the water because in front of the machine they open a vacuum space, and there is a kind of shield belt around the USO.
If we're talking about can something enter the water without a splash at all, I think it would probably have to be a different shape.
Unless the object itself was enclosed in a visually invisible to the light spectrum wave, and it's the wave that's changing shape.
Both Bill and Maximilian have an interesting theory about USOs, where they create some sort of force field that surrounds them that prevents a splash from being made when they enter the water. Well, we don't have the technology to test something like that. I'd like to focus on what we did test. I think we should analyze the high-speed video.
Okay, so let's look at this control frame first. And what we're looking for is we want to kind of count how many squares it went up.
Let me see.
Just the primary splash, though, not the secondary one.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, the splash, when it's pretty thick, okay, and it's not a whole bunch of individual little droplets that you would never see unless you're right there. Okay, it's only going up about 2 squares.
Now, squares, is that a scientific measurement?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, good. 2 or 3 squares.
So let's look at the air pressure one we did. So this one looks like about 3 squares. Okay, so it's not much different than the first one. So now let's look at the hydrophilic one. Once again, it's going up 2 or 3 squares.
Top of the 4th.
Wow, it's going up even higher, isn't it? Yeah, so that didn't help at all. Made it worse.
It's kind of ironic that all the changes that we made in an attempt to minimize the splash on our model USO actually made the splashes bigger. It's obvious that we don't currently possess a technology to make a splashless craft.
Well, could this just mean that we're not even close to understanding how USOs work? Maybe they're of course they're not using air bubbles or
Of course not.
or slippery hydrophilic substances, right?
Right.
I mean,
Well, Maximilian told us that, didn't he?
Right.
I mean, Maximilian said that the flying saucer or the UFO never even touches the water. It's all the wave itself, which is why you don't see splashes. Clearly, what we're dealing with is not a conventional technology. We're light years away from figuring out what this is.
It's not surprising to me that we couldn't design a craft that doesn't make a splash here in the lab. I mean, if we're to believe that these USOs are from a highly advanced civilization, they would have the technology to do this. And we simply don't.
Clearly, Gulf Breeze, Florida is a hotspot for UFO and USO activity and has been for the past 22 years. A lot of these craft appear to be coming from the Gulf of Mexico just above Cuba. According to a former U.S. military war games planner, there appears to be an underwater